So yeah, I'm going to be talking about the general election. We're going to kind of run through some of the possible tactics you can use and kind of how they relate to engaging networks. So yeah, I work for C6. We do campaigns and tech. I'm more of a tech person. And in EN, that's kind of like templates, custom advocacy tools, and data bits. So yes, the question that the whole country wants to know, when's the general election going to be? I'm sure it's making all of your lives a nightmare, trying to kind of make your plans. The country is not functioning properly, and I can't even book a holiday. My whole calendar has one big asterisk next to it, which is a bit of a nightmare. But first of all, I just thought maybe we'll do like raise hands to see when people think it's going to be. So we got 3 options. We got summer, autumn, and winter. So who thinks it's going to be over the summer? Okay. Autumn? Yeah, that's where the money is. And what about winter? Oh, few think it will hold on till January. Nice. Yeah, I always thought it would be autumn, but I mean, there's just daily leaks saying all sorts, so now summer's suddenly looking a bit more attractive. So when I'm kind of working on any project, I think the first thing and one of the most important things to do is to really focus in on what your objective is. Now that kind of sounds quite obvious, and I think a lot of times you kind of skip past that and go straight to like, how are we going to do it? But I think first of all, different objectives have different considerations. And also secondly, you kind of need the focus. Otherwise, you kind of end up with this spaghetti of requirements of just like, oh, we'll do this and we'll do that. And it starts to lack kind of clarity and coherence. So I think the first tip that I always have for these things is just like, be really clear on why you're doing this. And then bear that in mind when you're working out what it is you're going to do. So generally, partners, when they want to run these kind of advocacy campaigns, they're either trying to educate candidates, like to educate them on your causes, recruit them to become your champions, or even influence policy. I think we all know that's the one that's like hardest or impossible, but, got to have goals in life. So yeah, when we knew we were doing this talk, we thought, well, we work with a couple of candidates and MPs, so let's go chat to them. So we ended up chatting to 2 candidates, both Labour and women, just because, they're the people we work with. But interestingly, one of them's an elected MP and one of them's a prospective candidate, and actually they're in a marginal seat, and their experiences and kind of perspectives were very different. So staffing and capacity. So this is like the biggest one. So MPs have teams, and when the elections come, they kind of take all their annual leave and then volunteer on a campaign. So they have people running their inboxes, they have people doing all of that stuff. And so if you write to a candidate who's an MP, it's their staff who are going to be reading it. For prospective candidates, that's not the case. They are running their own inboxes. Best case scenario, they have their own organizer, but a lot of them will be sharing one organizer between like 4 or 5 candidates. So yeah, they both really commented that basically templated letters, they basically ignore. That was the feedback they gave me. They felt like it takes 0 effort. It shows no kind of passion that it's important to you. And when they are so vastly overstretched that they just didn't think it was like a good use of their time to be responding to letters that they weren't even sure if people cared about. And they kind of anecdotally said, I'd rather have 5 personal letters than 500 copy and pasted. Go direct, yeah. So one of the organisers talked about this and they were saying that they felt for impact, let me rephrase that. So a lot of these candidates will have ways to give them feedback already. So they'll have surveys on their websites where you can kind of tell them what you care about, book in meetings, and they'll even list phone numbers so you can WhatsApp them. And one of the organisers in particularly felt quite strongly that this was the best way to get any messages across, was to use the existing infrastructure that candidates already have for chatting to constituents, so that it felt like these were real people rather than like some sort of computer-generated bot. Yeah, events and meetups. So this is the one that kind of shocked me, but basically politicians love photo shoots, politicians love meeting people, and so they were all really, really excited about the idea of, you know, having a local meetup where they could go speak to two of your supporters in kind of in a local constituency and get a photo of, I don't know, them holding a placard or something. Kind of, yeah, wasn't what I thought, but something they were all very keen on. And yeah, keeping it local. So another interesting thing is they kind of both in confidence said that they didn't really believe in single issue politics, that, you know, you could say national housing's a problem and that's going to affect whether a local person votes them or not. They just didn't believe that. But they do believe that like local politics affects who they're going to vote for. And they're kind of like conspiracy theory level scared of like local Facebook groups that are like collecting and organizing and spreading word about how, you know, you're blocking this school or ULEZ or whatever the campaign is. And so kind of by keeping it local, referencing either statistics or institutions from that area, kind of is always going to, I guess, make them more sensitive to the topic and like more kind of paranoid that, you know, it could be a problem. Yeah, data. So they all said how much they love data. They both independently mentioned Macmillan. I don't know if Macmillan's here or they even use EN, but apparently Macmillan's been contacting people about how many people are in palliative care in that area. And they said that was like a really powerful thing that they received. Also, I think, let's be honest, we're all pretty nerdy. So any type of like information data stuff's always gonna hit strong. And yeah, this was another big difference between prospective candidates and elected MPs, is that the candidates are scared of HQ, and kind of rightfully so, because HQ controls all their resourcing, a lot of their funding, and even a lot of these first timers are going to have hopes of becoming ministers. So they want to toe the party line. They're going to avoid controversy at all costs. And so another difference is with MPs, if you hit them on X, formerly known as Twitter, then they will receive that themselves. They check their own socials, they're kind of addicted to the notification bar, and they are vain, they do care about it, and they're on it the whole time. Obviously, candidates also care about it, but it's just that like who's reading it question, whereas they are reading their own inboxes, whereas MPs aren't, whereas both of them are reading their socials. So yeah, that's like a few top line of like some of the what we're trying to achieve of whatever. So now I'm just going to go through some projects that we've kind of done in previous years and about how you could use those for the election. So real voices is something we talked about, trying to avoid the copy pasting. How do you do that? I think the kind of obvious and easiest example is just not providing a templated letter. Obviously, that makes it really hard, even as someone, you know, I would describe myself as political, but even when I get to one of these pages, I kind of start to get really nervous. I don't know what to say, and I end up just closing the tab because I feel like, oh, I don't want to do this. So I think if you are going to go down this approach, at the very least, just provide writing tips, even if that's like prompts about like talking about your own experience or providing some things that they could talk about. That can be really helpful. EN also has the ability to like randomize messages. So rather than just having one letter, you know, you can write, for example, 6 and just randomize through them. Obviously, this kind of runs into issues. Getting sign off for one email is hard, getting sign off for 6, you know, very difficult. And also, even if you randomize them, candidates going to start to receive duplicate copies pretty quickly anyway. One thing we did for the Nurses Union for the London Mayor campaign we use questions to build letters. So we asked the nurses, the members, kind of, what type of nursing do you work in? How long have you been a nurse? What part of London were you a nurse? And then you use those answers to build a kind of personalized letter, which, yeah, was pretty cool. And yeah, you know, obviously everyone cares about AI. It's the big buzzword. So felt like I couldn't do a conference talk without mentioning it. And we've actually got a little demo here, which you can kind of go to. It's just c6digital.io/demo AI email. And you can enter an example letter. You can put some key sentences, press generate, and it will write a letter for your supporter, kind of demonstrating how you could have a unique email for every supporter, written by AI. We kind of trained it on one of our clients, in collaboration with one of our clients, on some of their previous emails, and even plugged in some example supporter ones. But I think there are also some like really interesting places you could take this, with like passing in supporter demographics, like what you already know about the supporter, to help write like an email that reflects kind of who they are as well. So when we talked about kind of keeping it local, a great way to do that in EN is using the reference databases. So this is where you can kind of have additional information about your target. So if that's MPs or candidates, you can kind of go in and just enter it all in. So a recent one we did was about sewage. For each area, we wrote like the kind of God-forbidding number of how many billions of whatever raw has been dumped into the sewages for each area. And you can kind of just pull that through into your emails. Included a link to the knowledge base for that. Parliament also have this great dashboard for constituencies where you can get numbers on all sorts. So if you're looking for data, that's a great place to start. Also got a shameless plug of a project we're working on with Campaign Lab, who are like this great organization. It's like constituency directory for the new boundaries. So we're just trying to basically document everything that's in them. So schools, hospitals, parks, the lot. So if you're interested in that, let me know. If you've got any data that you think could be added to it, also let us know. Quizzes. So like we're saying, everyone loves data and also everyone loves quizzes. They're like competitive. It's like a good alternative to kind of campaigner fatigue. These are actually not that hard to do in EN. You can use the survey blocks and just add a bit of custom code, and you can kind of get this, keep the scores, show if the answer's right, and even have some text that goes alongside the answer, which can be a great way to kind of expand on the kind of campaign point. And, you know, it's great for like educating people on kind of complex campaigns. The link at the bottom is to the conference video I did about how to do it. So if you want to have a go at it yourself, look at the video. Happy to answer any questions. Pledge pages. So it's a bit small here, so you're not going to be able to see it. But one thing that we've done before is where you get candidates to kind of pledge support for a particular issue, and then you kind of show them up against each other, and you ask your supporters to email the ones that haven't pledged, and then the candidates can then have a link, a personalized link, so they can pledge support like you see them at the bottom, and kind of create a us versus them thing. Once again, also got a link to the previous talk. Clients have always really liked this. When I discussed this with the organizer, they were like, we wouldn't care. But I guess also we spoke to 2 candidates. They're going to be, what, 650 times 6 or whatever. So it's a tiny sample size. Postcards, always love these. Great way to cut through and for your kind of campaign to stand out. But emails are basically free. Postcards are not free. They're quite expensive. So you kind of want to put a cap on that. But can be, it's quite fun for supporters. They can choose their images. The message is a lot more short and condensed. And there's something quite cool about kind of mixing the digital and the physical. There's like a great kind of charity sector app out there. I think it's called Postbug, that's come out since I actually did my conference talk, that's linked there. So if you just look up Postbug, they do it pretty well, I think, and it's quite easy to integrate this kind of stuff into EN directly. And sending videos. So this is one we've done a few times actually, where you get supporters to send videos to MPs. We've done it, but it can also translate quite well to candidates. It really hits in that kind of quality over quantity, and kind of connecting people. It's technically it's a lot more challenging than the other options, but it's not impossible. I think the main consideration is just whether you want to include it as a link in the email, so in the supporter's message, or whether you actually want to like embed it as an attachment. It's kind of the difference in approaches. But yeah, also included a link to my previous conference talk where I kind of explained how you can do that from a kind of technical perspective. So I think I've actually whizzed through and used more or less than my time, which could be a world record because I'm nearly always overrun on all my conference talks. It's probably the 2 coffees I had before I spoke. So I don't know if you just want to, if there are any questions, or I'll just give everyone back their time. Should we swap, or? I can stand up.
Oh yeah, you stand up.
Yeah.
Hello. Okay, yeah, so please, put your questions to Jack, Q&A, and it's really nice to see a roundup of all your previous talks, kind of supporting all of this, the new ideas that you can do for the election. So it's really cool to see you turn a survey into a quiz. Are you happy to share the custom code that you created for that?
Yeah, so I kind of documented it in that conference talk I did. I can't remember if it was last year or the year before, or even maybe the year before that. But I've kind of done that. Yeah. So yes is the answer.
Great. Well, we'll try and sort of send links to all of these things after.
It's in the slides as well
Yeah,
on
we'll
the quiz page.
Around, so you have access to all of these. So you also mentioned having pledge pages. So would you, the technical side, I guess, would you send the PPC to a petition or something like that for them to sign?
Yeah, that's exactly what we did. So we had a sign-up form where candidates could basically fill out their name, and there was a hidden field that was also unique to their link, just so we knew it was them signing it. And then someone would manually go in and update the reference database saying this person is pledged.
I get you, yeah. Okay. Did you find that when you had your the sort of more technical tools sending videos, did you find the supporters were happy to do that?
To do the videos. So yes, people did do it, but it was a much smaller number. But it was quite a big campaign for Greenpeace, so it's hard to know if this always translates. But they got at least one video for every MP. Which was what they wanted.
That's good.
It was like a heartfelt cry out for a bill that was being rushed through. So they felt like for that stage, it needs to be hyper personal.
Great. And so you had all these cool ideas. Did you have any sort of ideas that maybe didn't work as well as you hoped?
So, I mean, the truth is, I'm sure you will know, but whether something worked or not, nobody even knows. That's the $1 million question, right? And I think Akshay always talks about this, but digital advocacy is only ever going to be one part of the wider campaign normally. And which part of the campaign's the bit that did it, I'm not sure you can ever know. So yeah, I think it's just about trying everything, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone is interested in finding out more about the postcard action that you did. What's the rough cost of that, if you can remember? So
Postbug, the organisation I mentioned, I think I looked it up on the way here, and they're now £2.50 per postcard. I think the people I looked at, or that I used, when we did this, that was a few years back, it was cheaper than that. but I can't remember the actual price per postcard. But in the conference talk that I've linked to, I list out a few of the different providers that we had researched at the time.
Great. Oh, yeah.
Nice, that sounds. Do you work at Postbug or something? I can see you.
I'll hand this around.
Thanks. So, yeah, yesterday I spoke about the postcard campaign in the presentation, and it is Postbug that we use, and it is really surprising the amount of people who do donate to pay for their postcard. The fact that we've managed to keep it going for so long is from the sheer fact that people are donating. Unfortunately, it is the cost of postage that's gone up rather than the actual service itself from Postbug, but it is really, really good. Supporters enjoy it. I think MPs, we're using it for 2 campaigns now. One, just being able to contact your MP, but also we're using it to contact GP surgeries as well. Basically, when people have had green prescribed, and then being able to feed back to their doctor to say that, yeah, it's worked for me. So it can be used in a whole kind of plethora of ways as well. So yeah, if you do have any questions, I'm happy to talk to you and can put you in the right direction as well. Thanks.
Nice.
Thanks for that information. I've got a question here about pledge pages again. Is there a way for candidate names to feature automatically at the bottom of the page once they've signed?
Yes. So that's what we had on that demo page. So basically, EM returns everyone. Inside the reference data, you've got whether they've pledged or not. And then so you show the ones that haven't pledged at the top with an email button, and then show the ones that have pledged as kind of like these are the good guys with no action. We've done this for MPs, and often when it's like a 1-for-1, you'll kind of have thank them on Twitter or something like that.
Thanks. And you've given so many good ideas for tactics. Any advice on how to choose them out of so many good ones?
Budget and time really are the main ones. I think it kind of depends on the campaign, and also the campaign, your time and money, and what else you're doing. So that's a bit of a cop-out, I guess, really.
No, makes sense though. Yeah, we've got another question here, which is, have you got any good examples of digital actions which have taken people into organising?
Have taken people into organising?
Yes.
So, anyone got a follow-up on exactly what they mean by that? I think I know, but I don't want to misplace the question.
Hang on.
Thank you. Yeah, that was me. I was just wondering, I'm just thinking specifically about digital actions and tactics that can engage people in other ways in an organisation, or can hit other, positive tactics in a campaign strategy, like media or, other things depending on what your organisation does. So I was wondering if you have any example of strong digital actions that people have then been able to engage those supporters or members to get more involved in organising. Or I was thinking about this postcard campaign actually, and that's something that's like a bit more physical and tangible. Have there been any other links like that to take people into more physical actions outside of their homes?
Yeah, so a few pop to mind. I'm trying to run through and see which one's like the best one. So Greenpeace ran a campaign against Tesco a few years, or going back years now, I can't remember. It was something to do with deforestation somewhere else in the world. And it started by getting people to leave a Google review on their local Tesco store, like saying, I don't want to shop here. I don't want to shop somewhere that supports deforestation. And then the next bar, once you had done that, is they would send you like a physical pack with stickers that you could go to your local Tesco store and like stick on like fruit and veg or whatever. And that was like that breakthrough, that digital wall, like you said, exactly that. So yeah, I think that was a great one. I also think it's not quite breaking into like the real world, but I joked about Facebook groups, but like modern day community organizing does take place in Facebook groups. And there's like so much guerrilla warfare going on. And I think this is something that unfortunately, like, well, I say unfortunately, but the right wing are much better than us at, which is basically like infiltrating community groups and like posting political stuff there under the guise of just normal posts. Like if you look at any Outer London Facebook group about ULEZ and you'll see what I mean. And one of the organisations we work with, Campaign Lab, did loads of work about getting supporters to post in their local groups, basically like pro-messaging on various campaign topics. And the high-level kind of output there is that the less sophisticated the message or the graphic, the better it kind of performs. Anything politically branded, anything that looks like it was done by a professional kind of flops. Anything that looks like it was knocked up on kind of MS Paint or AI generated does really well. So yeah, I think they're probably two different examples, but I mean, there are millions, but my mind's kind of gone blank.
That's great. And it's actually one more sort of follow-up question. Are there any digital actions that have done so well that they've been media worthy?
Any digital actions that have been media worthy?
Put you on the spot.
Yeah, I mean, often a lot of the digital actions we do are part of a wider campaign, and so the campaigns always generally get in the press, but I'm not sure if any of them have been like 100% because of digital, or if it's just like the whole campaign. We did loads of work on the big plastic count, and that's been all over the news everywhere at the moment. Yeah, I mean, I always remember Amnesty sending postcards to somebody that was imprisoned for some horrific human rights breach, and this was way before I got into the sector. And I always remember seeing the postcard thing and feeling like, I don't know, it felt like this tangible thing that somebody in a prison somewhere had received something physical that felt so much more meaningful than just like an email I sent to my MP or something. So in my early days as an activist, that always stuck with me.
That's fantastic. And yeah, so thanks very much for your time. And
No worries.
thank you to Jack for all of his insights.
Cool. Cheers.